Welcome back to another episode of The Law of Attraction. Now, in today's episode, I wanted to talk about the Law of Attraction and how we present an avatar to the Law of Attraction. Now, to me, the Law of Attraction is not this external thing that's separate almost from the universe or from God or whatever you want to call it, that you can manipulate to get the car and get the money and the relationships and everything. So to me, the law of attraction is the universe. The law of attraction is God, almost. Because as soon as you wake up in the morning and you get out of bed, the law of gravity works in on you, right? Your feet hits the ground, and that's law of gravity. Now, law of attraction is exactly the same way. Law of attraction dictates the experience that you receive from the outside world. It's not a separate law that only applies to certain objects. If you think about the car you're driving, people like to say, well, it's because of how you were thinking, that's the car that you attracted. And even though that's 100% correct, but every experience that you are experiencing at that very moment in life, or at every moment in life, is the law of attraction working in on you. So every conversation you have, every experience that you have, every emotion that you're feeling, all of those things are the law of attraction reflecting back to you who you truly are. Now, what people do is they get up in the morning and they put on this mask, and they step out into the world trying to pretend they are something that they're not, or someone that they're not. They drive a certain car, they put on a certain type of clothes, and they act a certain way. They do all of these things to hide who they truly are, to hide their insecurities, and to show the outside world that they're actually something better than they truly believe they are. And unfortunately, the experience that you're receiving back, if you have an insecurity, that insecurity will be reflected back to you by the outside world. It doesn't matter what car you drive, what type of job you do, what type of clothes you wear. That insecurity will always be reflected back to you, because the outside world think of the law of attraction as God. Now, they always say God sees everything, right? So it doesn't matter how you pretend to the outside world and try to hide who you truly are to the outside world. God always sees that, right? Now, as I said, the law of attraction to me is God. And the law of attraction, or the universe, sees right through that facade that you're putting on and presenting to the outside world. So it will always reflect back to you the truth. Now, if you are insecure, then that insecurity will be reflected back to you. It doesn't matter how you present or how well you're trying to hide it. Now, what I want to talk about today is basically vulnerability. Now, I've spoken about this before, and to me, the biggest change that I've experienced in my life was the day that I came across the power of vulnerability, and I started applying that. And it wasn't easy to just become vulnerable with everything in my life and everything I'm trying to hide and every insecurity. So it was a process. So I had to basically start off with smaller things, kind of admit to me, and what I did and what helped me is to admit that to the people closest to me. So I admitted those things to my wife, and I said, you know what, a year ago I got in an argument with you about XYZ, and because I blamed you for you said something wrong and that wasn't right according to me, and that's why it triggered me. But I was able to now say afterwards, in hindsight, and this was the first time basically I actually thought about this to that extent, and I was able to say to her, listen, it was because of me feeling insecure. It was because of me realizing that I'm being exposed, and I try to hide that by attacking almost, and trying to fend off any intrusion or intruding approach from her or from the outside world. And that really gave me a lot of power, because As soon as I did that, I started noticing that I feel a lot lighter, and that I didn't have to go out into the world, especially to the people that's closest to me. I didn't have to pretend to be something that I'm not. And that's what is quite exhausting for a lot of people, is they're stepping out into the world and they're doing a job they hate, but they're doing it because of the recognition they think they're getting from that and the admiration. And with everything else, the car they drive, the money they claim to have or present through the clothes they wear, and all of those things. And it really changes the experience you get from the outside world, because what happens is, as I said, the outside world, the universe, sees right through that. So if you are insecure and you're trying to present as somebody that's got a lot of confidence and that's better than what you truly are or believe you are, then you will encounter experiences that reflects back to you the truth through people that does not acknowledge you, that does not admire you or validate the career you chose or the car you drive or whatever, for whatever reason. So that will always be reflected back to you. And the more you're trying to use the law of attraction to gain more of these things, because you want to fill that empty void, that vulnerability that you're trying to hide, the more it will be shown to you that you're not being authentic, you're not showing your authentic self to the outside world, and the less you'll be able to actually accumulate or manifest all of those external things that you're trying to manifest. And so vulnerability is an extremely powerful tool to use and to bring into your life for manifestation, if you want to truly live. Because that's ultimately, if I said to you that I'll give you a stack of money, but you cannot use it at all, you can just keep it and look at it, nobody would want that, right? Because people want money because they want to have the things that money can buy. And why do they want those things? Not for the experience. They want those things, in some cases, yes, but I mean in a lot of cases, especially people that wants to use the law of attraction to manifest external tangible stuff. They want those things because of what it will represent about them to the outside world. It's in most cases not people that are enthusiastic about that career or that relationship or this or that. It's because of what they think that will represent for them. And that is all fake, and the universe will show that to you. But as soon as you accept your vulnerability, accept that you might not be the best in certain things, accept that you might have a lack of confidence, that you are insecure, that you feel threatened. I mean, so many different things that we experience on a day-to-day basis that we're trying to hide. And if you are vulnerable enough, and I'm not saying go out and tell your deepest, darkest secrets to every single person, or even to the people close to you, but I mean, being able to say that to yourself, to admit that to yourself, that hang on, I'm putting up this facade of myself, and it's because I'm feeling insecure, because I'm feeling vulnerable, and admitting those things to yourself. And then slowly but surely you'll see that you'll stop trying to impress the outside world. You'll stop trying to present in a certain manner because you believe that will give you a certain type of response or recognition. And once you do that, then the outside world will respond accordingly through people that's really authentic in your life. Because what we want is not, as I mentioned, it's not the car we want or the money we want. We want the experience from the outside world, that acceptance. That's our highest values. We want the acceptance in society that the car I'm driving validates me and my worthiness. That's ultimately what we're after, and we're not getting that because we are faking it, especially through social media and all of those things, but to the outside world as well. But once you start accepting your vulnerability and you can step out into the outside world and present yourself as a true, authentic version of yourself, which might not have confidence to speak in front of a lot of people, that might not have the confidence to go approach that girl or that guy, that might not have the confidence to really go after that high-paying job or whatever, right? Once you start accepting that, the outside world will reflect back to you the level of authenticity that you put out into the world through other people that accept you truly for who you are, and they'll gravitate towards your level of acceptance of yourself, and they'll start accepting you more. So the less you're trying to show the outside world that you are something different, the less the outside world will expose you for who you truly are. And if you're just presenting the true, authentic self, then the world will start accepting that. The people out there will start accepting that and will validate that and will actually give you that recognition. So at that point is also when you truly will be able to go after the things and try to manifest then the things that you actually want, that you truly want in life, and not things that you think you need in order to get that validation. So everything, as I always say, everything starts within. You need to heal within. You need to, and that healing process is not gaining more from the outside world. It's not gaining the love and the respect and everything from somebody else. It's giving it to yourself. So, and the only way you can almost do that is by becoming vulnerable, recognizing the lacks and limitations that you do have, the insecurities that you do have, the low self-confidence and self-worth that you do experience, accepting that and stop trying to hide that, and be authentic. Go to people, go to your loved ones, go to your spouse or your partner and say, listen, I really feel insecure when this or that happens, and it's because of me not feeling good enough, and not blaming that person, not blaming the outside world because you did that thing and you made me feel insecure. It's because I'm feeling insecure because I don't something happened to me, I experienced something when I was a child that people laughed at me or whatever, and in that way you can become vulnerable but accept yourself, and then that person will also start accepting yourself a lot more, because again, you're trying to show a different version of yourself, of who you are and who you think your partner wants or you think the outside world wants, and they're just reflecting back to you. Your experiences with the outside world will reflect back to you the true version that you truly are, and that to people is tough to accept because they're trying so hard. They're driving the car, they're doing the job that they actually hate, but they think that will give them the recognition, and they're doing all of these things, yet they're not getting the recognition for it. And that's very tough, and it weighs you down because you can only keep it up for so long. But once you start being authentic to yourself and the outside world reflects back that authenticity of yourself, then you draw the power back to yourself, you draw that energy back to yourself. And now you're in a position where you can actually really start going after the things that resonates with you, and not because of what they would expect or the recognition, but because of what you truly within yourself internally feel is right for you. And that's the point that you want to get to before you start wanting to manifest, because people just jump on this manifestation wagon and they just say, because they still remain the same version, and they say, I want to manifest the car and the money and the relationship and all of those things, and then it doesn't happen. But it's because it's not themselves. It's not a truly reflection of what they truly want. So once you start accepting yourself a lot more, accepting your vulnerabilities, then you're in a position where you can actually use the law of attraction. So stop using the law of attraction right this instance. Don't stop trying to manifest. Stop trying to use different techniques. First go within, first fix yourself, first start accepting yourself. And once you start accepting yourself, once you truly find that you are comfortable with who you are, you're comfortable with how you present to the outside world, as you are, in your natural state, without the car and without the money and without all of those things, that's when you notice, or that you'll realize that, hang on, that car that I've always wanted, I don't want it anymore, because that's empty, because that's not who I am. And you'll start to realize that in order to drive that car, I need to be a certain personality, or in order to do that job or be in that relationship, I need to assume a certain type of personality. And that's not me. That might not be you. And if you start accepting that, you stop chasing that. And then you can truly start chasing things that actually makes you feel good inside, that brings out the best part of who you are internally. So the law of attraction, again, it's not this one thing that we can utilize to get X, Y, and Z. It's basically God. It's basically how we perceive and how we experience the outside world. And it's how we present ourselves that dictates the experience that we getting in return. And the ultimate goal is happiness. And happiness is not the car and the this and that. It might be, if that's truly who you are, but happiness is really finding within yourself the peace and acceptance of who you are, and then working towards improving yourself through being more and more vulnerable and presenting to the outside world a more and more authentic version of yourself. And that, then you're on the right frequency. And people always say, but how do I get onto the frequency of that thing or that experience or whatever? And that's how you get onto the frequency overall, to be able to really experience life to the fullest, whether it is the car or not. It can be, it might be, but once you start healing yourself within and you start growing, that is when you put off this energy field that is drawing experiences and things and whatever it is that you want at that stage, but that's drawing all of those things back to you. And that's the frequency that all of these law of attraction people are always talking about, is that's the frequency you want to get onto. The frequency is not the frequency of the car, it's the frequency of being fulfilled in yourself, accepting yourself who you are. So work towards that. Forget about the car for now. Forget about the money and the relationships and all of these external things that you want. Start focusing on yourself. Become vulnerable. Become authentic. Become true to yourself. Heal yourself. Yes, you might have gone through that experience when you were a child, and that might have been a bad, traumatic experience, sure. But accept that's been part of your journey, and you had to go through that one thing, or 10 things, or 100 things, in order to be the person that you are today. So that's not something bad that's happened to you. Yes, on paper it's a bad thing, right? We'd all agree that your parents' divorce was a bad thing, or the abuse or whatever, right? Those are bad things. But all of those things taught you something, and it carved away the person that you are today. And that's now your superpower. That's your story that you can tell. And that's the person that you can present authentically to the outside world, so that you can help other people by sharing what you've been through, and say, listen, I've been through exactly that. Or you don't even need to say it, but you can now find compassion with people that's also gone through similar stuff, because you aren't afraid of exposing that thing. And that's what I think a lot of people do, is they do not want to show any compassion. They don't want to, or they'll show an inauthentic level of compassion, but they can't really truly expose who they are and say that I've also been through that, because that will, in their minds, will take away some of their credibility or validation or acceptance. But once you start doing that, being authentic and say, listen, I've also been through that. I also experience insecurities. I'm also afraid of rejection and all of those things. That's when you start truly helping other people out there. And that is when you get onto that frequency of being able to attract what you want at that stage. And at that stage, it's going to be pure happiness. So whether that is the car or the relationship, it doesn't matter. But you're going to chase happiness. And you're going to chase, it almost becomes addictive to really become vulnerable. Because the more vulnerable you are, the more authentic you are, the more weight you shed, and the lighter you become, and the more free flowing you become. And now you've got the ability to really open your eyes and see opportunities out there that will bring you true happiness. And you might have been chasing that promotion or that career for the last 20 years, and you might be miserable in your career, but you keep chasing that because you think that's what's going to give you fulfillment. Because if you could just reach that next level, then you'll be happy. And that level never arrives. That happiness never comes to you. But once you start accepting yourself and becoming vulnerable, that's when you might realize that, hang on, I've been stuck in this job and this career for the last 20 years, but this is not who I am. This is what I thought would bring me the acceptance and the recognition and validation. But that's not what it is. That's not who I am. And therefore, I'm going to do something completely different. And now all of a sudden, you start seeing opportunities all around you. And that's what people always talk about, is the frequency. They say, once you start getting onto that frequency, then you'll start seeing the synchronicities and serendipities and all of those things. And what that is the more you start accepting yourself, the more you stop chasing that. You're not narrow focused anymore and trying to chase that one thing. So you draw the energy back to yourself, and now you've got this wide open vision of the outside world, and now you start seeing the opportunities that's right for you. So those opportunities have always been there, but you just ignored them. And I can speak from my own experience. I mean, for such a long time, I've been wanting to get onto YouTube and wanting to make videos and stuff, but to me, first of all, I had this idea that it's only like 1 in 100 million or whatever that really makes a success and really makes money, because that's what I chased, was money. So I tried building businesses, and I tried this career and that career and all sorts, because I wanted to make money. So my vision was so narrow, and I had 5 options to choose from, and I chose each of those 5 options, trying to just chase this money, because that's now going to bring me success and happiness and all of those things. And I've considered starting a YouTube channel many times, and I always thought that, first of all, it's going to take too long. Secondly, the chance of me finding true financial success through YouTube or making videos or social media online is very slim, and therefore I just never bothered. And that's when I arrived at this stage where I said to myself, when I started actually accepting myself completely and wholly for who I truly am, and I started accepting my weaknesses, and I was able to, I've always pretended to be good at business, because I've always been passionate about business. But I wasn't passionate about business. I was passionate about opportunities to make money, right? So I've been running this business that I'm in now, basically where the studio is, for the past almost 4 years now. And I've gained a ton of experience through running this business, and it's been extremely tough. But I've always had this notion that, oh, I'm good with business because I've got the experience. This is what I've built. So I've got the t-shirt to wear. And I didn't want to accept, and I couldn't accept. It wasn't consciously me trying to hide the fact that I'm no good in business. It was me truly believing that I'm good in business, because that's what I wanted to be, and that's what I wanted the outside world to believe about me. But once I started with becoming vulnerable like a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. But I've consistently tried to remain that version of being able to be vulnerable. But it's only recently now, when the business almost went bankrupt, that I started to be able to admit to myself and to the outside world, to say, you know what, actually business is not my passion. I'm actually not that good in business, or I'm not that good in managing people, or whatever the case might be. And that's when I decided that I wanted to start my YouTube channel, because I can now share all of these things, and I've got no expectation from this channel to make money. I've got zero expectation. So yes, I've got this business that's sustaining me for now, and it's stable and it's running. And that's allowed me, obviously, the opportunity to be able to really focus on YouTube and be in that mindset to say, you know what, I don't need the money, really. Obviously, it would be nice to make some extra money, but at this stage, to me, even if financially I had to start making money, I would have done it in some other way. I would have gone out and found a different job or started a different business. But to me, YouTube is truly, authentically who I am and what I want to do. So I might not be good at it now, but I will definitely become better at it as time goes on, because it's not a facade that I'm trying to imitate. I've started a YouTube channel many years ago, and back then I would look at other YouTubers and I would try to imitate them. One of the guys was Aaron Doughty, and I would try and imitate him, the way he spoke, the level of energy he had, the topics that he spoke about, all of those things, which is also by chance law of attraction. But I tried to imitate that person so much that I got 0 views on my channel, and it's because I didn't present an authentic version of who I truly was. And now I'm at a point where I now know that this is who I want to be. As I said, I might not be good at it now, but I will definitely improve and get better. And I don't care about the views anymore. I don't care about the likes or the money that one can make off of YouTube, because subsequently I've also learned that, like, through just normal monetization, you can't make that much money off of YouTube in any case. You need like a good couple of million views every month, which to me is okay, because I just want to share my experiences, and I want to share all what I've been through and what's worked for me in life, and hopefully that can help somebody else. So become vulnerable. Just to leave you with a final thought, become vulnerable, and that means stop looking at the outside world, stop chasing those things for now. Turn within and become vulnerable, and through vulnerability you become you go to a higher frequency, because you draw the energy. Now all of your energy is focused on the outside world, so you're focusing on that relationship, focusing on that person, focusing on that car. How can I get that car? How can I get that car? How can I be better at the job? How can I get the promotion? All of those things. So your energy is focused outside of you. But as soon as you start becoming vulnerable and start accepting who you are, then you start drawing that energy back to you. And at that moment, then you move onto a higher frequency, and good things just start happening with you. People will validate you. They'll give you compliments. They'll offer you opportunities. They'll do all of these things because you're not finding yourself in the wrong place at the wrong time anymore. Now you start observing the world through the authentic version of who you are. You start observing and recognizing opportunities, and you gravitate towards those true opportunities. And now the world will see that this person is actually authentically good at this one thing, and let's offer that person, him or her or whoever, this opportunity. And that's when good things, just without you chasing those things, without you having to have a vision board and focus and all of those things, now good things, opportunities will come to you, and you can now start making your pick and say, this looks good, I'll go for that. I'll take this opportunity. I'll start this business to make this money. So the result will come as soon as you start going within and start bringing your energy back to you. And that's a thought that I want to leave you with. So if you need any help with anything else, like a personal matter in your life, whether it is relationships or money or whatever it is, feel free to contact me, because as I always say, the law of attraction is this one thing. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a mental health practitioner or anything. I just experience life through healing myself on a continuous basis, and I found methods to do that, and one of those methods is what I'm talking about today, is vulnerability. So if you want to know how you can use vulnerability, how you can approach it, for the first time, what you should do, and all of those things, then give me a shout, leave me a comment, send me an email, go to my website, just engage with me in any manner, and I'll try and help you out. So thank you if you've been watching this video up until now. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.